Yo, YouTube, what's up? It's Aeghis. I just wanted to go over the changes that actually just happened, or will be happening tomorrow. So, as you guys can see here, because I've been getting a lot of questions on my stream on whether or not these changes will affect Arcane Mage or Frost Mage or Fire Mage, and which one is going to be the best. How are the changes going to affect current playstyle? Just all these kind of questions, and I just kind of wanted to address it. So honestly, the first change is up here. These are the first changes. The Flame Strike damage increased by 8%, Fireball by 10, Scorch by 10, Ignite by 5, and then Pyro by 5. So these are primarily PvE changes. These were not part of the player versus player changes that were implemented. These are actually just in the world, just normal changes. So largely these are PvE changes. This doesn't really affect Mage too much in terms of PvP because, for one, you don't ever really cast Flame Strike. Fireball is like what you use primarily to farm combustion back. Scorch you never cast, and Ignite obviously just doesn't do a whole lot of damage. So really the only part that actually matters in PvP is the Pyroblast by 5%. And even then, Pyroblast by 5% is not going to push Fire up that much. But Fire I will still see being the worst out of the three specs in terms of solo shuffle and whatnot. I think Fire Mage will still have its comp. I think sub Fire RMP will still be really good because Fire is able to kind of reset your cooldowns, reset your combustion, and that's honestly kind of the playstyle that sub RMP is gonna require. So I think it'll still be good in this context, and they did fix the Fire Blast not spreading to CC targets, so I definitely could see Fire still working in sub RMP. However, I don't think it's gonna exist too much outside of that. Now if we move down to the player versus player changes here, you'll see Nether Precision is now 75% effective in PvP. Prodigious Savant is now 80% effective in PvP, and then Arcane Bombardment is now only 65% effective in PvP. So I just wanted to go over these changes a little bit and kind of show you what changes. Oh, sorry, I just moved my WoW. So if we look real quick, let me minimize this. So Nether Precision is this buff here. Consuming clear casting increases the damage of your next two Arcane Blast by 20%. So this getting a 75% nerf basically means that this goes down to 15%, and that's only going to equate to about 5% blast damage, which is really not that much. Blast is kind of our hardest hitting ability at the moment, besides an Execute Barrage. And Blast is really good in terms of consistent damage and whatnot. So this nerf is extremely small to Arcane Blast, and they didn't honestly nerf the damage of Arcane Blast right out. They just nerfed a modifier of it. So this isn't going to affect your consistent damage too much. It's not even really going to affect your burst that much, so I wouldn't worry too much about this change. And then they did nerf this talent as well. However, we never really ran this anyways. We can't really afford it. I don't think it's that good of an ability, so the fact they nerfed this, it doesn't really change anything. I think this is largely like a PvE talent, because for one, you don't even play Mastery in PvP. You're always going haste first with your gear, so honestly not really a big nerf to that talent. However, the Arcane Bombardment nerf is probably the biggest nerf of the three. So Arcane Barrage deals an additional 65% damage against targets below 35% health. That will be the new tooltip for this come with the changes. And honestly, this is not even that big of a nerf, and the reason why is because they're not nerfing the damage of Barrage straight out. So they're not even nerfing the consistent damage portion of Barrage. They're just nerfing the Execute, which was honestly really strong, and a lot of the times when you would press Execute, it would deal a lot of overkill damage to begin with. So with cooldowns up, you're still going to be executing people from 35 to 0. The only thing this is going to nerf really is your executes when you don't have Arcane Surge up, or if you don't have full Arcane charges, which in most cases those were pretty much not killing anyways. So honestly, this change like, while it is sort of the biggest nerf out of the three, I really don't think it's going to affect it too much. I think Arcane will still be the best overall mage spec. It's still going to be really strong. So let's move on. These are the last changes here to Mage. Piercing Cold is now 50% effective in PvP. Ice Lance damage increased by 20%. And then the Snowdrift, which is the PvP talent Stun. For one, it no longer has a cast time. And the cooldown was reduced to 45 seconds instead of 60. So I will show you guys what some of these talents are here. Basically, what Piercing Cold was a modifier on your critical damage of Frostbolt and Glacial Spike. So Piercing Cold, well, actually Icicle, sorry. But I think when you play Glacial, I think it's a Glacial modifier. Let me see if it changes the tooltip at all. Yeah. So when you play Glacial Spike, this is what's getting nerfed, basically. Frostbolt and Glacial Spike critical strike damage increased by 20%. So this is now going to be 10% rather than 20. So Glacial Spike getting a 10% nerf overall. I mean, honestly, probably justified. Glacial Spike was critting extremely hard. And if anything, if Glacial Spike turns out to be very lackluster from here on out, you'll honestly just drop these two talents here and then go into Comet Storm and play an instant cast build, or like a kind of a Legion-esque build where you're doing a lot of damage with Lance, Ray of Frost, Comet Storm, Ice Nova, which is kind of a more fun playstyle in my opinion for Frost. And honestly, the 20% buff to Lance is going to be really strong, because honestly, with this build that I'm rocking here, I was already hitting about 40 to 50k Ice Lances with my cooldowns up. So now, like, that's basically an extra 7, 8, 9, 10k damage on your Lance. So, you know, 60k Ice Lances, and you're just dishing them out left and right. Honestly, that has potential to be very good. You know, you just throw down an orb and you're just generating these icicles that are, you know, critting for 60k. I could honestly see Frost being pretty good after these buffs in terms of like your instant cast damage. So we'll have to see how that plays out in terms of, you know, which spec is the best. Honestly, I think the way it's going to turn out is Arcane is still going to be top tier. Frost is going to be a little bit behind it, and then Fire is going to be a little bit behind those. So those are just my thoughts on the nerf. If you guys do want to see all my builds and whatnot, you guys can join my Discord. I'll also have them in the description if you guys want them. That's all I really have. Check out my live stream on Twitch. As you guys can see above me, I am actually making another guide. So if you guys didn't know, I made a Fire Mage guide before, and it was pretty well received. Everyone kind of, you know, generally liked the guide. It was very helpful for a lot of people. This one I'll do a little bit of a different format. I'll probably do it in a video format. But yeah, if that's something you guys want, definitely make sure to stop by my Twitch channel and maybe, you know, drop a prime or just show some support. And that's all I really have for now. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and peace out.